And that combined with a sort of huge PA system, you know, creates a lot of excitement within itself. And then Dave adds to that by moving around and involving the audience. So I think the end result of that is a lot of excitement coming off the stage, which is equal, to my mind, to just about any group that is freed up by being able to move around the stage, you know. So I don't really think it limits you. The only thing that limits you possibly is using tape sometimes, because you're very much trapped by the structure you've designed for yourself. So we make a different structure of the songs for live, and then we play those live, and they're different to the studio records, you know, and they're designed for live purpose so that they should work for the audience. But if you want to change it one night, you can't really do that, you know. The only thing you can do is have alternative tapes, which we do have. But even then, you only really have time to produce maybe one alternative tape, you know. So that's sometimes a bit limiting, yeah.
It must be limiting also in the way that you cannot respond to the reactions of the audience. Always.
True, yeah. Yeah, that's true. But we try and allow ourselves spaces where we think they're going to react, and usually we're right, so that there is space for them to react or sing along in certain passages, or for the music to go down and the audience to do something.
Does it ever happen that the machines fail for you?
Yes.
What do you do then?
You panic.
And after that?
After that, you panic. No, what can you do? We have backup systems, you know. We've each of us has a complete backup system that you can swap to immediately. The tape machine there's a second tape machine for backup, so you can take all the precautions you can, and hope that, you know, it will work. And if they both go wrong, then you just have to ad-lib or go off stage and come back on. I mean, usually, well, we haven't had to do that for a long time, where we've had to go off stage, you know. That only happens when you have a complete power failure or something, and that's usually out of your control. So an audience understands that.
Och nu ska vi tillbaka till filmen med Depeche Mode.
Well, I'm not sure where it fits in. What it does is really, hopefully, show the group for more like what we are. See, most of the visual things we've done in the past haven't really shown us as being particularly like human beings, you know. It's shown quite an arty side of what we do, or it's almost been to kind of show a false impression of what the group is, if you like. Whereas this film, I think, shows a very, very realistic impression of who we are as characters. I think you really do get an idea of the individual members of the group. When you see the whole film, you explore, people's characters are explored within the film. There's nothing clever about the filming, or it's not particularly arty. It's just quite straightforward, but hopefully it's edited in such a way that it's very understanding. That I think Pennebaker really understood what we were like as people, and that's important. And it will show people a different side of the group that they haven't seen before.
Does that mean that you've had, or rather people's impression of you has been some kind of more or less artificial people on stage, a high-tech version of a human being?
Well, I think we've always managed to give a warmth in live performance. That's what surprises a lot of people about us, because they expect a cold, sort of distant feeling, because we use so many synthesizers. This is the connotation that synthesizers has. And they're surprised in a live situation that in fact there's a lot of humanness coming from the stage, and people can feel involved. So on that side of things, I don't think that's true, but I think in other areas possibly that's true. It's people haven't really seen the true people behind Depeche Mode. They've seen an image of Depeche Mode which is very different to what the people in the group are like, and has given a false impression.
Alan Wilder i Depeche Mode om detta megabands musikaliska och övriga framtid.
Well, musically I hope we will become more radical. I don't think we'll become safer. I don't want to become safer or cater for people more. I want to cater for ourselves more. And catering for ourselves means we have to keep ourselves interested. And to keep myself interested, it's got to be more radical, really. Because we've done what we do very well up to now. The last 3 albums have been very highly polished, produced albums, very well put together, well constructed songs, nice sounds, good production. We can do that, and we could make another record like that, and another one. But really that's not challenging enough, you know. Now we have to try and make a real change and try and do something that people don't expect.
But from a commercial point of view, isn't that a risky thing to do?
I think so, but I think if you value your own talent, if you like, if you value your own judgment, then people will respect you for it and like it, I hope. It's you know, all you can do is trust your own judgment and trust your own instinct and please yourself. And that's what I was saying to you before. If you try and think, well, the audience may not like it, so what we'll do, we'll give them this because that's what they want. We don't know what they want any more than they do, you know. So you've just got to do what pleases you.
How do you feel about the music industry as a whole today? If you look on other artists with great success, do you think they make too many compromises?
I think the nature of the successful artist is to be more and more compromising, yeah.
But how do you fight that in your band?
Well, by doing what we were saying, by trying to be more radical as we get older.
Yeah,
See,
but the threat is always there.
Of course it is, and as you get older as a group, you get safer and safer because you fall into ways of working which are convenient for you. You don't want to interact with other members of the group. You want to please the other members of the group. And you know, and everybody knows what everyone's like as a group, so they try to please each other, and they end up with a nice, safe compromise within their music. So if you want to be more challenging with your music, you have to face more confrontation between the members of the group. And that's why most groups don't become more challenging, they become less challenging. So what we have to do is try and stand up to that confrontation and make it work in our favour, and make the tension, just put that into the music, and thereby make it stronger, I hope. The music industry in general is fairly disgusting, you know, I have to say.
Och jag frågar honom, förklarar då den här inställningen gruppens enorma framgångar världen över, trots att nästan inga radiostationer spelar dem? Inte i Sverige, inte i USA till exempel.
Well, there's a large following of people that don't want to listen to what they're given to on the radio. And in fact, they feel somehow closer to a group if their group aren't played on the radio. They feel somehow that it's more their own personal possession, that group. It's something they've discovered. And so many people that follow those groups, as soon as they get into the charts, dismiss them. Oh, they're now a chart group, I'm not interested. So, and in America, there's a very large audience like that. You can be a cult band and still have millions of followers. So, and that's kind of where we are at the moment. We suffer from radio. We don't get enough radio play in America because it's very safe, like most places. But we have, because of the live performance and a few radio stations in key places, we've built up this cult following. And in some ways it's nice, it's almost nicer to have it like that than to sell even more records. Because once you get to a certain stage of selling records, you should be making enough money anyway. So it's not really money you need. So in a way it's quite nice to have this more cult kind of following. It gains you a lot more respect, possibly.
So if Capital Radio and Radio 1 started playing your records fiercely, would that be a failure or a success?
Well, that's a good question. I think it would be both, really. It would be a failure and a success at the same time. I can't, you know, I would be lying if I said we didn't want them to play our records. At the same time, I don't feel particularly unhappy that they don't. So, you know, I think, you know, in the end you do want to appeal to everybody. You want everybody to like your music. The more people, the better, you know, because you feel that what you're doing is really getting across to so many people that it makes you feel more important as a person. I mean, it's all ego.